Well, John, Incantation, thank you for your time and thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's pretty cool to do this. I mean, it seems like you've been doing some great stuff
Thank you, man.
with the channel and stuff, and it's always nice. Especially, I think we'll be able to get out to some people that might not know who we are and stuff. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of like how it's been working on the tour, having a band like Darkest Hour on the tour, which is a little different than us. It's good to get some these new, kids that might not have heard our kind of death metal before get their brains crushed in every night. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to hit that 80s death metal. Dude, John, congratulations, dude. You guys, you hit the 80s, brother. 89.
Yes, 89.
That's a big, some people might say, oh, 90s, 89 or 80 to 79. But hey, try buying a vintage instrument. Yeah, that 1 year, you're going to tell.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because I was an 80s teenager, I grew up on like heavy metal, speed metal, like the whole progression until the beginnings of death metal. And when we started, it was still early enough where there wasn't, I don't know, quote unquote rules that I started to learn later on. But I come from an earlier scene where there wasn't rules. It was just like, just be as brutal and heavy and pissed off and tell the world to fuck off. It was kind of like a mixture between, aggressive thrash, punk, hardcore, just everything put it together and just making it as evil and crushing as possible, and then I think at a certain point there started to become rules in death metal, and there were a lot of great bands that came from it. I'm not slagging it, but bands that come from the 80s, I think you didn't think in that way because it was still being kind of created, even though there were bands out obviously like Death and Carcass and Bolt Thrower were all starting around that time, but it wasn't defined. It seemed like once the earache stuff started coming out and Road Runner started, or Road Racer started putting stuff out, it started to become a little bit defined, and then people started following that template. So they were following like a next generation template of death metal, where we were kind of from a almost a pre-template of death metal. It was more like just figuring it out. Like we didn't even really 100% know what we were doing. I mean, especially in my previous band, Revenant, we just took everything that was like aggressive and crazy and pissed off and threw it in a band and just told the world to piss off kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, you're right. Incantation is a part of like a like a pre-rule book.
Yeah.
Right? Like a pre-template. You're right.
If you listen to I Want to Go Garza or the Mortal Throne Nazarene that we're doing now, it's going to be hard to find other bands that put out albums that sounded like that. I mean, okay, production-wise, they weren't great, but it wasn't about getting the pristine production. It was about getting a vibe across that we wanted to express with our music. It wasn't about the technical ability or the, it wasn't meant to be nice. It was meant to be something you listen to and you're just like, holy fuck, what is this? Like, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a shock thing, but we just wanted people like, here, this is what we feel death metal is, and this is our interpretation of it. It's not what, the scene's interpretation of it or anything. It's our interpretation. And that's what I like about a lot of the earlier demos and albums I listened to, is like bands were doing in the 80s their interpretation of what they thought aggressive music should be. You can go from bands like Early Destruction and Sodom, obviously, Death, made a template that a lot of bands followed, even us to some extent, and some other bands, like I said, like Bolt Thrower and Carcass, and, more underground bands like that really influenced us, like Necrophagia and Necrovore, early Morbid Angel. Those were bands that they were throwing away the template and doing their own thing. And some of those styles.
Throw away the template.
What's that?
I like that. Throw away the template.
Yeah, that's the way. I mean, when you're a metalhead, aren't you supposed to break the rules, not follow them?
Well, okay, you have
We're
more
rebels.
you have more experience.
Yes. Necrovore. Fuck yeah. That when I heard that demo crushed my brain. I was just like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The production wasn't good. But there was a essence to the passion of it that spoke to me in a way that was just like, I need to understand how this happened. You know, I need to express myself in this way where I'm expressing myself from my heart and not following the rules of, you know, music, you know, or what you're supposed to do. Like, I didn't even know, like, what most guitar players know, you know, before they even probably have a band. I didn't know until probably, you know, 10 years into doing albums. I was like, oh, you're supposed to line up the fucking kicks and the guitar, you know, the guitars on like double bass parts. Like I would do it, but I wouldn't think about it. Like I was just like, I would just like, I hear the kicks and I'd be like, okay, you do this kind of, I don't know, just play this. It sounds good over it. Just do it. Like I didn't know all that stuff, but in a way it was better because I didn't feel trapped in any way because I didn't know I could do every other one if I want to, I guess. And fuck it. It's, you know, it's who gives a fuck about the rules?
Who gives a fuck? So you weren't even trying to lock in with the kick, which is basically what everyone does.
Well, no. I locked in, but in my own way, not the traditional way. That's the difference. It's like it's not. I had my own way of thinking about doing it. It would be like, I feel this makes sense. It's not about this is the way, because I didn't know you were supposed to do it. Like I remember getting a little bit of crap with my former band Revenant that I played in because, you know, I wasn't good at doing the down picking, you know, like the more thrashier down picking. So I just never really did it. I was always a strummer. I just, for some reason, the riffs I wrote sounded right strumming. When I tried to do down picking, I felt it was too choppy for me. Like I wanted it to be a smooth transition, even though it's a heavy transition. I want things to morph into each other, not like be. I wanted it to be like this feeling's going into that feeling. It's going into that feeling. I know it sounds artsy and all that stupid stuff, but it's just more the way I just looked at it. It just made. I don't know why. I only started even realizing this in the last couple years or so when I started kind of analyzing my career a little bit more and started realizing, because once I started like touring more and working with other guitar players and watching other guitar players play, I started to realize like, wow, I'm like on a totally different page. Like I don't even, you know, all these things that they're all concerned about, you know, like towards the end of the 90s with bands playing in BPMs and all this stuff. I didn't even know what a fucking BPM was. I didn't even think about it. Like, it just like play the freaking part. It sounds good. That's, you know, it gets the feeling across. That's fine for me. Like, I didn't need to know about, you know, why it works. It's like, if it works and it sounds good, you know, and it gets across what we're trying to get across in the music, that's what's important. So, I felt like an outsider for a long time in the death metal world. Once it started to become more, people started following that template or whatever of music. Most musicians, of course, follow the music. You know, like they learn how to play music and this is the way you do it. But I realized I'm something different and I lack skills in certain ways, but I have maybe a little bit more imagination or a little bit better at expressing myself or something with the guitar in my way. It's not a traditional way, and I'm fine with that because I'd rather have people feel what I feel coming out of the guitar. It's almost like you say, like, listen to Jimi Hendrix play compared to Marty Friedman. You know, I like when I hear Jimi Hendrix play, he'll just bend. You don't know what the hell he's doing, but somehow it sounds amazing and awesome, and he somehow make that note mean something, even though it probably, in theory, doesn't, you know, shouldn't work. Those, you know, but I like the emotion of music, and I also realized that with like bands that I liked. I liked bands that I felt an emotional connection to, not a. I mean, of course, it's great. I mean, I love Yngwie. I love listening to talented players. That's great. That satisfies one part of who I am. But when it came to extreme music, especially, it was like I wanted to feel like it was pulling me into something. It was making something special happened to me. It was like making me feel a part of it. Like I'm experiencing what they're trying to express to me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds like I'm some kind of freak,
No.
and maybe I am a freak, but it's okay because it's just who I am. Like I don't know the other way. Like I only know me. So for years, I could not understand why maybe people didn't quite understand where I was coming from musically, between working with musicians in the band sometimes, or just the way music is in general. But I realized it's just who I am, and for most of my life until almost recently, I've just been almost wandering around like I don't get it. Like why, why do I look at it this way? And everyone's telling me you have to do these rules here and there, and I try to do them, and it usually hurts the music more than it helps the music, because it's like maybe in if I didn't get possessed by metal at an early age, I might be doing like ambient music or something. I don't know. It's hard to say because I look at it as more of moods and feelings than, like at least for Incantation when I'm writing, I'm thinking that. I'm not thinking, oh, this is a good chug part and this is a good moshy part for a song. This is the brutal part. Mm-hmm. It's like, and it hurts, I think, our writing sometimes because it's like, yeah, I could follow the template and okay, you do this part, you do this for this, and people are going to like it, and that's great, but I don't fucking care. I don't do it for people that like it. I do it because it's self-expression. I hate saying it because I feel so
Let's hear it.
snooty, but it's like I'm an artist. I create art with the stuff I write, and it means a lot to me. And if it means a lot to other people, that's great. It was even from the beginning, before I even really understood, when I was sitting with Paul Ledney and myself starting the band, it was just like, we're going to do what we want to do the way we want to do it, and everybody fuck off, And it's like, we knew if we're lucky, we're going to have maybe, say 5 years. Lucky if we put out a demo or maybe a 7-inch and people will hate it, and then we'll quit. And that's fine. We were totally comfortable with that, But instead, it was like things went wrong and people liked it. And then we're like, oh, fuck, this is awesome. Like people actually like the lunacy that we're doing, Because I think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could tell me. As a musician, when you're starting off, you probably want to be a popular musician. You probably want to write stuff that you think people are going to enjoy. Of course, you want to express yourself, but but other people enjoying it with you is important. The way we were looking at it was like, no, we're selfish. We're doing this all for ourselves. But when we play it and when we do it, we push it outwards towards other people, and they could either grip onto it or not grip onto it. But we're going to give them, this is us, our souls, what we believe in, and you either dig it or you don't dig it. And it's not a big deal if people don't like it. We don't expect them to. So every time we do well or people like it, I'm more like, thank you. I appreciate it because, we're not trying to.
Yeah.
It might sound weird, but we're not trying to please the crowd because we know that we have to please ourselves as a band. And then if, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's always a crapshoot with it. We're not going to follow the trends. We never did that, through, say the 2000s when, say, your band, Suicide Silence, was more popular, that style, metalcore and, these newer forms of, like symphonic metal and, symphonic black metal, whatever you want to call it. Those were all the craze at the time. And we were just like, you know what? Screw you guys. We're going to do our album even more underground, more to ourselves,
even more
because it wasn't, pissed off about, bands do what you want to do. That's great. But for us, it's like this reinforces who we are as people. Like we're not willing to say, well, let's just add a little of this or a little of that, sprinkle in because this is the time. No, fuck that. It's like, it's either 100% honest or you could piss off.
Piss off, dude. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I kind of ranted on it, but
no,
it's how I'm very passionate about the stuff I do.
No, I want you to speak your mind and speak your heart because I know what it's like. You have you want to play what you want to play, but and when you do that, you're constantly getting pushback, and it's like, am I thinking about this wrong? And then,
Yes.
and then you'll second guess yourself, but then, yeah.
Well, I've dealt with that for years where I was getting pushed into directions that I felt uncomfortable with because people are telling me that this is not the way you're supposed to do it, and they're trying to push me into doing it. And when I do try to capitulate to that a little bit, it always feels wrong. It always feels wrong because
tough.
it's not it's like you're trying to make a painting and someone says, no, that line's supposed to be this way, and that's the rule. It's like, no, there's no rule to abstract art. And the way I look at if you had to look at it like art, it's abstract death metal or whatever. It's what we feel. I mean, some people do stuff for popularity or to get to want to please other people with music. Like I said, we're selfish. I mean, we grew up with that idea of say Metallica, where it was just like early on, you're just like, we just do what we do and fuck you guys kind of attitude, or Manowar, where you're just like, you're proud to be fucking metal and everybody could piss off, like that. I grew up in the early 80s where, bands were like, yes, we're fucking metal and we're doing this and everyone could piss off. And that's metal to me, If, like I said, once you follow that rule book too much, I think it takes away some of the personality, and it dates your stuff more to a time period to some extent.
It does. Do you think this started with, if you don't mind, John, I'd like to kind of take it back.
Yeah, of course.
Do you mind? Do you think it started with Kiss when you were like 6 years old? You found Kiss on TV, and you said something that kind of gave me like another. You had a very unique perspective. I know people always ask you, how did you first get into death metal? But then you said something. I was like, oh yeah, like when you're young, you don't even have a perspective what death metal even is.
Yes.
And it made me think about like the first time I heard Korn. I wasn't like, this is new metal. It was just like, I remember you made me think about when I was a kid.
Yes, I get it.
And I haven't thought about this ever in my life, where it's, what was I even thinking? I didn't think about a genre, but it did open the doors to. So
yes.
So I guess you could maybe kind of trace it, like you first heard death metal when you saw Kiss.
Well,
guess
let's just say when I was young, for some reason, and I don't know why, I just any song I heard that had like a distorted guitar or like a gained guitar, just I thought was cool. I was just like, damn, that's great.
That's it.
Fuck, I mean, I'm like 5 years old or something, but that sound, it just hit me for some reason. I could, maybe for other people it could be whatever,
Yeah.
But for me it was that, and then it was like I would listen to like rock radio as a young kid, listen
like
to
Zeppelin, Queen.
whatever was out that time that just had that tone. I mean, Brian May is one of the gods of tone. I mean, when I remember hearing his the guitar solo and We Will Rock You, and I was just like, I knew nothing about guitar. I just knew that sound that was coming out of there was so cool, I mean, and of course I started to focus on it more when I started learning guitar and understanding some of the techniques and stuff. But back then it was just like, it just sounded cool to me. It was something sick. It was something like, say, original to it. It's like, when Brian May plays, he plays with a passion that is distinctively his. It's like you always can you could always tell when you hear his guitar. Those are some of the guitar players I like. But anyway, getting back to Kiss, I mean, what was it on that TV? A TV show, I forget. They were on. It was like a holiday special or something like that. I think it was a Halloween thing or something. And of course, looking at them, it was like, wow, this is cool. You're a 6-year-old kid. These guys come out in makeup and looking all cool and stuff. You're like, wow, that's pretty damn badass. Yeah, that was it. And just to then to hear him play and see that whole thing was like, it was basically like feeding a tripe to a fucking shark at the time. Like I was just like, this is exactly what I wanted to fucking see, Yeah, that crushed my soul as a kid, explosions going off. I mean, just look at that. I mean, think of it. Not understand. You don't understand nothing about guitars, drums, bass.
Exactly, you're right.
I didn't know what instrument made what sound. I remember having Kiss Alive, and I thought the bass guitar played the acoustic sounding parts. I didn't know. I just thought I made up my own little world or whatever, and we used, I used to get with friends, and we just go in my basement, put on an album, pretend to play with tennis rackets and bats and stuff or whatever as guitars.
Dude, the bats. Let's go.
And we didn't know which instrument was what or whatever. It was just like, but we just knew that. We thought, Ace, Gene, Peter, and Paul were fucking awesome, and we heard the music. I remember just hearing that hearing that guitar going. I was just like, that's it. That's like,
there it is.
It basically like possessed my soul, and then I wanted to get a guitar, and then
did you? So when you were 9, you asked for a guitar for Christmas, but instead you got a acoustic, right?
You did way too much homework. Yes, right? I got an acoustic guitar, and I was horrified because I'm like, I didn't know nothing about guitars, so I hit it, and I'm like, it doesn't sound right. It's like bling.
I did the same thing, dude.
I'm like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah.
It's like I was like, that's the sound when I was a young kid I heard on the radio, and I turned the channel.
Yeah.
So I was kind of bummed. So basically I told my mom and dad I want, I'd like to get an electric guitar. I found out the electric guitar is the one that does that sound. And they were just like, well, you got to learn how to play this one first. And I was like, no, I'm not interested. Okay. No, I didn't do it. I was like, and if I'm not getting the sound I want, because even then, maybe I was already thinking like, I want to get the sounds. I want these sounds to mean something. Yeah. And it's like, playing this acoustic guitar had no interest at all in it. I was just like, it just sat in my room in the corner, and my mom thought it's like, oh, it's just a fad or something like that.
Sure.
And then I had to wait until I got my paper route, until, I don't know, probably 13 or something, and I bought a Ibanez Roadstar 2, and it wasn't a great guitar, a little PV, one speaker amp and a Rat distortion pedal, and I was just loving life. Just turning up the distortion pedal and just making stupid sounds with it in my room. It was just like a total blast. Then I started taking lessons, try to learn the basics or whatever. And
how long did you take lessons for?
Well, I took them on and off. I mean, I learned the super basics probably about a year of just like learning some really simple scales and just picking the notes, and like it's real simple stuff. And then I took lessons for probably about a year. Then my friend across the street was a really talented musician. He was a kid, but he grew up on piano. He played violin. Then he got a guitar, and he was just able to like learn stuff right off the bat. So he would teach me like songs, like, I don't know, Deep Purple songs or Black Sabbath songs or Judas Priest songs. So I would just really just start playing that stuff. I kind of didn't give a crap about really learning the actual way to play the guitar. I just wanted to play the songs I wanted to mimic the songs that I liked or whatnot. And then it wasn't until probably 88 it was when I was playing in my previous band Revenant. I think it was 88 where I took guitar lessons from Ed Furman, who was the guitar player for the New Jersey band Hades, which was one of my favorite New Jersey bands. And he started to show me some of the some lead techniques, some scale techniques and stuff like that. But it was still very minimal. I mean, because I was always more interested in the creative part of it. Like learning my scales and stuff like that felt like paint drying, but just doing these weird sounds like gong, king, gong, king,
paint drying scales.
Yeah. And, like what happened is when I was in my previous band, Revenant, I started learning how to write music. And that's what really was like, oh, this is like, I found my niche. Like, I like writing stuff. Even though it took me a while until I really understood the process, I like the creative part of creating rhythms and moods and stuff more than I did the technical aspect of learning. And then I did go to college. College in the weakest sense of the word, like minimalist college.
Like 1 year, a couple classes.
Yeah, just
I did the
because
same thing,
just
dude.
because I kind of felt like I should, like.
Did the same thing.
Yeah, that's Ed Furman there. That he is actually working on a book right now about
Really?
his guitar stuff. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And he had me write, get some stuff for it or whatever, which is really cool. He's an amazing guitar player. And a really nice guy. But anyway, I took lessons I took like a drafting course, like a remedial English course because I suck at English. And
I do too. I feel you.
yeah, and then what else? I don't know. I took something else, and then I took a music class, and it was like supposed to be a classical guitar, and but I got in there, and it was this old like black jazz dude, like a total like the hat on, and just had the big guitar, and he was just like and I really liked it, because it was just like. He was just like, you gotta feel it, just gotta do this, cat,
Gotta feel the music, dude. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And it was such a great
smoke this weed.
yeah. It was just a good vibe, because it was like actually like I related more to like this jazzy type vibe than I did actually the classical vibe. But that was the only class they had was classical. But but when I went there, it was jazz more, and I was
what's up with jazz and death metal? There's like this weird connection I've been finding.
Yeah, well, I think I think it's a metal in general because jazz and blues has a lot to do with bands like Black Sabbath that kind of started it. It was like an exaggerated version, and a lot of metal, at least stuff I grew up with. I think a lot of it. Transcended from jazz and blues, I think. So, and it's like metal got tighter and tighter throughout the years, by the time 2000s went, it's like everything was just like blocks or whatever. Once like digital came in, it was just like, okay, now we're cutting this fucker up.
So yeah, I was going to ask you like when did that rule book come in? So it kind of sounds like when the Pro Tools went
it was Pro Tools.
Digital. That's kind of when like the rules maybe started to kind of come in slowly.
Yeah, well,
maybe.
I remember in we toured with Angel Corpse in 99, and I remember that they were talking about beats per minute and all this tightness stuff about
boring
and like
shit.
Yeah, all this boring stuff, all this music crap. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? It's like I'm here just being an asshole. Like I'd be there just like throwing my guitar around, smashing it into my amp, and just fucking making the most sick sounds I could, and probably looking like an infant on stage compared to these other guys that are up there like all like going and I'm just like
you're always doing that, huh?
But for me it was like that was more fun. So I started realizing, I mean, it wasn't just it's not fair for me to point out Angel Corpse because there were other bands that were coming out like Nile and stuff like that were really into this really tight form of death metal, and I think it had a lot to do with Pro Tools. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being tight. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm like, I don't want to be tight on our records. It's like, no, I just don't follow the rules of how everyone else thinks tight is, or and I like that bluesy jazz thing where you could float a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be like. Every drum beat things don't have to be lined up like perfectly through. Everything has to be quantized and all that crap. I freaking hate it because it
quantized makes my wiener feel smaller.
Well, it takes away all the soul and all the beauty of the guitar player or even the drummer. I mean, it's like sometimes the coolest drum parts is when the drummer's like taking a little extra time on the roll, and it's a little bit. It's there, but when it lands on it, you're just like, fuck yeah, you got to it, like I like that vibe. I mean, that's what's really awesome, relating that to what we're doing now on this tour. It's really awesome because we're playing probably our most underground and most feeling full, expressive album, I think, and it's so fun to just say screw it, and like it's a total like break all the rules kind of thing, you know, and just feeling the band jamming like we're a fucking unit, but we're also like, you know, any moment it could fly off, you know, and like everything could be fucked or something. But that's great because I like living on the edge like that musically, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, like I said, some people feel it, some people think we're stupid or whatever, and it's okay. I don't care.
Yeah, fuck him, dude. Hey, hey, John, real quick, I gotta tell you, man, I'm pretty proud of you because I heard you talk about how you're a shy dude, and now you come a long way, man. I know that feeling. You know,
yeah. Well,
speaking your mind and speaking your heart takes a while to learn.
Well, I
awesome.
was always an outcast. I was super shy as a kid. My whole time in school, I felt like I didn't relate to the people that were there. I felt like I was in a forced prison or something like that at school.
Wow.
And then even like, you know, like I tried to find people to work with that I could understand musically and band wise, and I still felt like it's a weird thing, but I always felt like it was an us and them kind of thing, like. And it really it's just been difficult, and just for my whole life I just feel like, why am I different? Why am I different than other people? Because, you know, I feel like the way I am is right for me, but it's like for some reason other people don't always understand. Not everybody, but most people don't, and it fucked me up for a while. And then, you know, at a certain point, you know, probably it started probably about 10 years ago. A lot of it happened after I got my divorce. I did a lot of therapy to try to understand myself, because I thought that I was actually going insane. Like, I remember going to therapy and like, I'm fucked. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can curse. Like, okay. I went there and I was like, I'm fucked. I think I'm insane. I don't know it, and I need some help. And it was just the weirdest thing, because I learned to just let it all out, and how good it felt to just let everything out to this therapist. And she was just intrigued, because she was just like, no, you're like so normal. It's ridiculous, you know, like these are all normal feelings and everything, you know. It's like, and it helped me to know that, okay, I might be different than most people, but my feelings and the way I'm thinking is not wrong. You know, it's just other people, you know, aren't as empathetic or something as I am, or as passionate. Like I'm super passionate when I get into a project, no matter what it is, short term or long term. I get obsessed with it. It's like, because if I do it, it's worth it to do it the best way I can, and to do it the honest way I can. And if I don't put 100% into it, I feel very down on myself, and I'm really hard on myself. But then just like, you know, it took a long time to get to that point, to really understand, like, okay, it's okay to be who I am. It's okay to be different than everybody else. And it's like, not everybody has to like you for who you are or understand you. And, you know, you don't have to, I don't know how to explain it. You just, you know, I guess I've learned that I am a good person, you know, which I didn't know if I was or not. I didn't really understand, because I surrounded myself with a lot of people that were taking advantage of me because of some of the, well, first of all, because of my empathy for people. People took advantage of me, I feel. And I'm not trying to be a sob story bullshit or whatever, but I just didn't know it. Me being empathetic to people was just who I was. So when people would take advantage of it, because some people, I've realized, they take from you, and they just take and take and take, and you don't even realize it, because you just want to give and make other people happy, you know. But when you never get the proper reciprocation back, it takes the honesty and everything out of yourself. And I've realized, you know, now that it's just the way some people are. And when the people are like that, it's just like, okay, whatever. That's the kind of person they are. I have to deal with it appropriately and not just keep throwing, stuff into this pit of emptiness or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's more important to, okay, these people are this way. They do their thing. That's great.
Yeah.
If we could work together, that's wonderful. But we have to have an understanding of the way each of us are. I mean, throughout our career, the reason why people like working with me is because I work my ass off, like in the band. Like, especially early on, it was like one goal in life. It was just like, do this band. It wasn't to get popular. It was just like, if we're doing the band, we're doing the band. This is like it. And
We're in.
And people like that at first. But then once they're in the machine and they realize that I'm like the Energizer Bunny, where I'm like pushing everybody, no, we got to keep doing this, doing it.
Tough,
then people are just like, whoa, like I need a break, respect my boundaries. But you're 21 years old.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck this. Everyone should think like me if you want to be fucking, successful and getting your ideas out. And that fucks a lot of people up because you're dealing with immaturity of not understanding the dynamic between other people, and they're not understanding the dynamics either. Everyone's looking at it just from their own sides and not looking at it from other people's sides. Like I couldn't understand, why people were not wanting to be as I don't know what the right word is, hardworking as I am, like nonstop. Mm-hmm. Some people they got to a point and they're happy, and for me I was like, what the hell's that? That's like, this is the beginning. When you get that up, when it's not the end.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's either the end or, okay, it's time to take a break. And is it wrong or right? No, it's not wrong or right. It's the way people look at it. But when you're a 20-year-old, 21, 22-year-old kid that has the fire of a motherfucker with telling the world to piss off and want to give middle fingers to everybody, last thing you want someone to tell you is to hold you back. You want to push harder, and you can't understand why these other people that you care so much about, that and you created something so amazing and beautiful with music wise, don't have that same exact fire that you have. But it was immaturity on my part, not understanding myself. Like I said, it took until I was 45 years old.
45. So
Really
unfortunately, you had to go through a divorce to make you kind of stop and like step back, reassess.
Yeah. And it wasn't like 100% the divorce situation.
What'd you do?
No, it was. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah,
but
let's get into it.
But the divorce situation, obviously, it's always a big change in life. But it wasn't. It wasn't just that. I had issues that I didn't understand myself. And that situation made me reevaluate myself, so I was able to understand and get myself to live life properly, where I understand where I'm going, understand what kind of people I need to be around, what kind of people, what I'm looking for in, say, either a partner or whatever. Yeah. And I was able to find myself. We'll say I lost myself, but it wasn't just the previous marriage that I lost myself. I lost myself way before it. If I really analyze it, probably my first marriage, I was trying to find myself, and I was trying to find myself, and I ended up just going down the path. And it's not anyone's fault except for myself, because
attaboy.
Well, it's the truth, because I didn't think about, like, I didn't step aside and say, I need to get help and figure out what's going on in my brain and understand it. I was too immature. I didn't understand. I just knew that I love fucking playing music. I didn't care if I was living in my car or whatever. I love doing it. It's fine. And I'll take whatever the life puts at me if I could play music. But at the same time, I neglected a lot of my own personal mental health, even though I'm not like, I don't have real mental health issues, but I just couldn't find myself. Like, mentally, I couldn't find myself. Everything was in music was like this. My whole personality was music. It wasn't, like, I had nothing else in life that I was really 100% happy with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just pretty. Yeah, I mean, you're so like tunnel vision, and you don't really assess it until like you kind of press pause. Like for me, it's like 30s. You know, you
Yeah.
kind of have to like reassess. Wait, who am I? And then you actually go. Then it's like one big circle.
Yes.
So like, who am I? Know I don't know who I am, and then you go right back. Who? Wait, I was always this guy.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that's really funny because I said before that other people wanted to take a break and reassess. I probably should have did that, but I didn't because my drive was stronger than like I got so much out of writing and creating music, and it was fulfilling a void inside of my body that I felt like I had to keep doing that, and that was and it was therapeutic for me. But I could have benefited from just taking a little break and saying like, okay, let me get my head on straight here. I love doing music. I know that I have to work really hard at doing it, but at the same time, let's chill out a little bit and like, get like I said, get my head on straight or whatever,
Yeah.
Because it wasn't. I mean, you ask anybody, they'll probably tell you I'm an asshole or something. That's fine, because I probably was an asshole, but that's okay. But but they'll tell you that I was determined. I was like
awesome.
Focused,
Yeah.
Well, the thing is like I'm just me. I don't make all the right decisions.
No one does.
I learned throughout life, and I I honestly throughout my whole life done what I thought was the right thing to do. It wasn't always the right thing to do, but it was with the proper intentions or whatever. For myself, and I love bringing up other people with me. Like when I find people that have that same fire as myself, I love bringing them up.
Yeah, it's cool.
I love collaborating with other people musically. It's the most awesome feeling to sit down and just jam with someone I respect or a bandmate or something, and we come up with some cool riffs or something like that. And it's like, and it's all of our stuff. It's not just me expressing myself. It's like part of me, part of them, and it's an awesome thing.
Yeah. What record was it that you think you should have stepped back and reassess?
Well, it's hard to say because there were numerous times.
A few times. Nice.
I mean, after we did our first album, Onward to Golgotha, basically the band fell apart, and it was basically just myself and Craig that were still in the band, but Craig was kind of not happy because he liked jamming with the other guys, and I sadly fired Ronnie, and then Jim left the band soon after that and stuff. So the chemistry that we had was not there anymore, and I can't say it would have been right to get those guys back or not, because I don't know. You could say whatever, but the fact is that I should have took the time, because we did the album. We had Jim fill in for the album session. He came back. He did it. He didn't do it for he did it for Craig, because he hated me at that point, which was
sick,
understandable. But he come in. That's Ronnie. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple years back. And the thing that it hurts me because, I have such great memories of working with him early on in the band, and after I kicked him out, it wasn't the same, and he's held it against me for years, and it's hurt me because I really he meant so much to me at the time, and I wish that we were able to like just hang out and just be like, okay, talk about it and just explain where my head was at, and that I, wish it didn't come to it or whatever. Now we could just be friends because, like I said, we had a great friendship, and I never got to do it, and he passed away, and it's heartbreaking to not be able to do that. It's important regardless of what happens at the heat of the moment in the band. 10, 20, 30 years these days later, you want to be able to say like, thank you for the stuff that you did, and you want to be able to say, I'm sorry that, this happened or whatever. I wish that I was more mature and dealt with it better, but, I dealt with the way I thought it was the right thing to do at the time, not because I wanted to, but because I thought it was the survival of the band. And yeah, you have regrets as kind of when you're a band leader, you sometimes have regrets, especially when you're very passionate about stuff. So it does
You
break my
always
heart.
do. You always do. When you're either founder or co-founder, you kind of take on these responsibilities, and there's really nowhere to go to get like any kind of formal advice. So you make wrong choices, and sometimes it sounds like for you, like you didn't get a chance to make amends. I'm sorry. It sucks, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I get it. I mean, some people are just stubborn, and I'm stubborn myself. So, I mean, I came to my senses, soon after that, but he held it. He held a grudge, and he has a right to. I
Yeah.
mean, people, you can't change the way people are. People are the
No.
way they are. All you could do is open your door and say, hopefully, if you want to talk, you could talk.
Yeah.
Or we could have fun. We don't have to jam. We don't have to do anything. Just hang out, maybe have a beer, or just whatever, coffee, or whatever, or just a meal, just something. Just talk about the good times, and remember those, because those are what's important in life,
Yeah.
is those relationships. And to create, he played on the Onward to Golgotha album and on the demos and stuff. So he was there super early on in our career, and those are magical times in any band, and those memories you cherish a lot.
You do, man. Imagine your life. Where would you be if you never saw Judas Priest when you were 13? Where, with chickenpox.
Yeah, with chicken pox. Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I never. So you went to a show and you had chickenpox. I never had it. Is chickenpox the if so? I guess the rumor is if you don't have it when you're young, if you're getting older, it could potentially kill you. Jay, we might need to.
Look up chicken pox.
Yeah, can you die? Can you die from having? So you're lucky. So you already got. I never had them.
Oh.
And you made me think. Oh shit! I never got.
You better be careful.
Are you still
Don't go
contagious?
Be careful going to a Judas Priest show.
So what? Isn't that show like legendary because they're like ripping out the seats or some shit? Like
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I was really getting into Priest at that time, and yeah, I've always been out of my mind when it comes to bands I liked.
it was
And
New York, Madison Square Garden.
oh, awesome! Yes, it was a magical experience. I mean, I went with my mom. She wouldn't let me go alone. I was
course
fucking
not.
young,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, yeah. And just think about your mom going to a show where they're ripping up all the seats it's your first metal show, and it had to have made an impact on her. Like, I don't know about this metal stuff, but it was amazing. I mean, just think of a 13-year-old kid. I was watching them play. They started off with Love Bites, and it had the dong, dong, ding, dong on the bass, and then it has like, it hits in, and it goes, "When you feel safe," and then like
Yeah.
one of them would show up, and it would be like, "Damn!" Another one, then the next part would come, the other one would show up, and it would just like magically show up on stage. And for me, as a 13-year-old kid, I was just like, I can't believe that I'm in the same room with these people. It's
Yeah, you're in the same room, dude.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's just it changed my life. It was just like, it reinforced my love for metal, and just made me want to go into high gear. I mean, I never, I didn't have false expectations that I'd ever be, Judas Priest or whatever, as big as that. But I just knew that I loved that whole experience of just feeling the music and being in the room. And I mean, I started going to shows like crazy after like every concert I was able to get to, seeing Kiss, Dio, Twisted Sister, Black Sabbath, even Rat I seen with Bon Jovi. Just any concert I can go to that, at that time I went to, and then I started going to like more teeny bopper metal clubs, seeing local bands and stuff. But it was all that Judas Priest thing lit a fire under my ass. It was just like this. I found my people.
So okay. So I think I had the timeline right. So all right. So you were. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but so the term is paperboy. You were like
I was a paper boy. Yeah, well, it's not disrespectful. That's what I
Okay,
was.
okay. How? Dude, I was wondering how early do you gotta get up for that?
Well,
Like,
it wasn't. I
like
wasn't
4
the.
a.m. or something crazy?
Yeah, but I didn't do the daily paper thing like most people all the time. I filled in for a couple people doing
Okay.
the daily paper. That's you have to wake up like 4 a.m. and they drop the papers off and you gotta like sort through them yourself. It was a lot of work. But then I was doing more of the shopper, which was a like you get I think it was twice a week. And they give you a pallet at your house full of fucking papers and plastic bags, and you throw them into little plastic bag papers.
Okay, nice.
And I'd have to throw them all in the bags and then carry this huge fucking whatever this carrier basket thing with me and go around and throw it. Like I'd ride my bicycle sometimes and throw it, but you ride your bicycle and you have to throw it on the steps. And if you go too fast on your bicycle, you'll throw it in their bushes and have to stop and go get it out of the bushes. It wasn't fun, but it was a way for me to make some money, and that's how I was able to pay for my guitar.
That's how you got. So all right. So you're a paper boy. You just bought your guitar and combo. You just saw Judas Priest. Are you into BMX at this point? And you're making your own ramps in the in your park and like shoveling.
Yeah, I was in.
Like
I was into
ditches?
BMX. I was probably into BMX more around anywhere from 9 until about 13. I think Judas Priest might have been close to the time when I got out of it.
You're full on 13.
But I think
Early teenagers.
yeah,
Cool.
it's hard to remember for sure. But first we built, me and a bunch of my friends. We built a racetrack in the local park in like a corner area where we had like tabletop jumps, the little berm things and the whole 9 yards. We did a really good job. It's funny because sometimes even the cops would drive up there and they would put their radar on and try to clock us on there and stuff like
that's cool.
Like they were being cool and stuff like that with it. Sometimes they say like, okay, you guys gotta chill out or whatever, but other times they'd be like, they'd be kind of like supporting us doing it. I guess because we're probably staying out of trouble.
That's
but
cool.
then I joined a local BMX team. It was a bicycle shop, and we would go to this racetrack in New Jersey called Braddock, and
Braddock. Okay.
yeah, it was pretty badass. I mean, I wasn't good enough. These kids that were there, they were way better than I was, but I still had a fun time, doing it semi-professionally,
Yeah. When did you get hired? When did you get hired at Record Town?
I got that from my guitar teacher. He was working there, and he got that. I must have been 16, 15, 16.
Okay.
I forget how old you have to be to actually work.
16.
My first job was working in Toys R Us.
Oh yeah.
And then I went from Toys R Us to I think Toys R Us. I went to Record Town. I think I'm sorry. My first one was Nathan's Famous Franks, and that got old really quick.
What's that?
And Nathan's Famous Franks. Nathan's is a big Frankfurter company. Yeah, that's it. It's in Coney Island, but they had one in our local mall. Yeah, and it was a grease pit, and I got kind of sick of it. I mean, I haven't ate Nathan's for years after that, but
Yeah, probably traumatized.
yeah. I went there, then I went to Toys R Us, and then I went to Record Town, and Record Town was the best option. It was in the Bergen Mall in New Jersey, and they had a little import section. So basically, I rated all the import sections. So their import selection kind of sucked because everything that was good I would pick up. Be able to find like rare Motorhead albums at the time you couldn't find in the States, or like I was into a lot of punk too, like Dead Kennedys. They would have like the alternative Tentacle record stuff there, and
So you had access to all the good records. So by the time someone else
that's
went,
it.
Was it? This is it?
That might be. It looks just like the one that I was at. It could be the same one.
Record Town. Okay, so this
That's
is like
crazy.
So this is like an East Coast thing, right?
Yeah, it was a popular on East Coast. I mean, at that time I couldn't tell you because I never traveled further than probably. Yeah, I pretty much stayed in New Jersey, New York, so I only knew they were around there. But that's where actually I met Jim Plotkin, Henry Vegian, and my friend Hux, and they were these super underground dudes that were, they went, they were, it had to have been, 86 or something. And they came in, one of them had Celtic Frost painting on the back of their jacket. One of them had Voivod painting on the back of their jacket. Can't remember what Hux had, but I was seeing, I was like, oh fuck, those guys are fucking cool. And I'm sitting there in my Record Town outfit with a button-up shirt with a little string tie, at the time leather string tie, really, really like lame as fuck looking. And I remember, going up there talking to him and stuff, trying to show him, where, some of the better stuff was or whatever. And I ended up just talking to him, becoming friends with him, because they didn't have patches on their jacket. They would paint on. They'd have their leather jackets on, and then denim jackets over it, and they would paint with a paint pen these logos. And they had these logos of bands I never heard of before. I remember they had like Pap Smear, and they had probably Master, and I can't remember, but it's just stuff that at that time I was like, I don't even know these bands. And so I was asking, who's this? Who's that? And they realized that I had interest in it. I was already into underground stuff. I was listening to, say, Destruction and maybe Creator or something like that, but nothing like really like the tape trading stuff that they had painted on their jackets. And that was basically a turning point. I had a car. They didn't have a car. So it was kind of like my car was the inn, like they'd be at the mall. Instead of calling their mom to pick them up, I'd be like, oh, I'll drive you home, Yeah. And then they would go in my car and they'd start, that's it. Oh, that was a great demo. That, yeah.
Pat Smear, okay.
Yeah, they're from Las Vegas. They were a great, they were like
86 demo.
Slayer.
Okay.
They were like
Vegas.
Slayer and Dark Angel kind of vibe. They had a great song called Die Killing.
Pat Smear, nice, dude. Those shirts are
Yeah.
those,
total
those,
80s.
Those t-shirts are 80s is the only way I could describe it.
Yes.
You're gonna have to watch it.
But yeah, what's it? Yeah. So anyway, they Jim Plotkin was playing in a band called Regurgitation at the time, and he popped in his demo, and it was like the heaviest thing I ever heard in my life. And I was like, this is so freaking cool. Yeah, hell yeah. But what was it? Yeah, those guys, we just started like working out these things where I would like, meet up with them and we go on these record store runs and stuff like that on the weekends or whenever. Mostly the weekends, I think, because they were still in school. I was still in school too, so yeah, it had to be the weekends. And we would just make runs and go to every record store and look for all the underground things, all the underground albums that we could find wherever. And then they also would get me all these demos. They introduced me to fanzines and stuff like that. And once I got fanzines, I started writing to every freaking band. I mean, every band from, I don't know, let's say Soothsayer to Whoppers Taste Good, whatever it was. I just wanted, because I was a music nerd, I wanted to know everything about this underground, all these underground bands. And before you know it, I was like full force. And even Henry, who I ended up playing in Revenant with later, was just like, this guy's out of his mind. Like, he won't stop collecting metal knowledge, but it was just, it was, for me, it was a passion thing. Like no one told me to do it. I just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the guy that knew everything about every band possible that I liked.
Yeah. You always speak on the band, Revenant, right?
Revenant.
What's your biggest, cause you always talk about how much you learned. What was like, maybe it was like the one thing that you like, oh, this is my like golden nugget right here that I learned.
I like the fact, because before that I was playing in mostly cover bands and sadly trying to write material. And Henry Veggie, yeah, that's me. Yeah, right there, the Wehrmacht shirt on.
Sick.
With the suspenders and stuff.
Revenant, dude, sick.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Yeah, they were the first band that like showed me the tools to come up with songs. Like my earliest song ideas were with them, and it really I just love the fact of being able to write music and be in a band where I was encouraged to write music, and Henry would work with me to make the stuff better. You know, like we all worked as a team. Like I might come up with a couple ideas, they would come in and try to make it better.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had that collaboration of writing music, and it was a beautiful thing to be a part of. It's like I felt when I was in Revenant, I was like, I'm finally in like an original band. Even though we still played some covers, it was an original band, and it was just you know, we had real goals. Our goals were put out a demo, you know, play as many shows as possible, put out another demo, you know, and it was just you know, and it was a tough time in the music scene in our area, because the stuff we were doing was more, I don't know, it's a mixture between speed metal, hardcore, thrash, and like early death metal kind of mixed together. It was almost like a smorgasbord of styles that we were doing, which we were kind of trying to find ourselves, and we were mostly playing shows like punk rock shows and hardcore shows, and most of our fans were like you know, guys like punk rock dudes with like huge mohawks and stuff like that. Like most of the metal people at that time, you know, they were more into the more commercial stuff. Not saying there's anything wrong with that stuff, but we were doing something more extreme. They were more into the contemporaries. I don't know. I mean, like a Testament or Metallica, which we like those bands too, but those people didn't like us, you know? The people that liked us were the people that were more into Agnostic Front, or they were into Cro-Mags, or they were stuff like that.
So it's so like the hardcore scene actually was more welcoming at
Yeah,
first.
because they liked the we were pretty fast. We were very influenced by bands like Wehrmacht and Cryptic Slaughter too. And they were all like this. It was a weird thing because it was like it was an unformed style, because it was basically thrash, death metal, and hardcore punk mixed all together. But I don't really know. Like I didn't know what Wehrmacht was even considered, or Cryptic Slaughter was really considered. Because to me, it was kind of like it was the fastest stuff I heard at that time, but it also had the kind of slammy parts that you'd have in hardcore or something. But yeah, so we were kind of in that era, and then there was just a certain point where basically when we played a show in '88. Us Immolation just formed, and we played a show with Immolation, Revenant, and Morbid Angel in New York. And the first time they came to New York City, and they played 3 shows. We played 2 of them, and after seeing Morbid Angel play, it changed my life. It was the first show we played was at Streets in New Rochelle, New York, and it was just like that's the flyer for the Sundance one. Yeah,
the Sundance. Okay.
Yeah, that place. I seen so many great shows, the Sundance, but you know, to see Morbid Angel at that time with that much fire was absolutely life changing.
Quite special, man.
Yeah, because there was nothing like that, and it was really cool for me because I was also really a big Necrovore fan, and the main guy, John D. Plachette from Necrovore, was doing sound for them and selling merch for them on that tour. It was only a 3-date or 4-date tour, but for me to be around these people that were so inspirational, and I learned about this focus and this, it was almost the thing that put together my way of looking at music, where it was more about the vibe of it. Even though, I mean, Trey has way better technique than I do in every single way possible, but the way he looked at it, the riffs, using his imagination for it, was really sparked my interest a lot when talking to him, and I did use that. You know, when in my later time in Revenant, right before I started Incan, but I realized at a certain point that the paths for Revenant were getting more tense. Like I wanted to go in this direction, and they wanted to go in another direction, and I knew for myself and for them, it was best for me to leave, even though it was at that time it was the hardest decision of my life. I mean, just think of a band that you put every ounce of your soul and everything into, and then you're just like, this just isn't working. And I left, and it was really difficult, but once I started jamming with Incantation, even though there was no, like, they were like up here now, and I was like down here again, say with popularity. Everyone thought I was on crack for leaving them, but I'm like, I don't care. I want to write the music I want to write, But I did have to deal with the fact, like, okay, now we're starting from square one, but it's okay because now the whole thing is in my vision. Like, I might sound like an egomaniac, but I'm controlling the narrative of what we're doing now from this point on with Paul Ledney, to be fair. And I knew that if I'm going to get other people to be in this band, they have to agree with what I want to do. Not that I want to control it, but they can't be like, they can't be wanting to do this or that. No, they have to be wanting to do what I'm doing. And if they don't want to do that, that's cool. They could do what they want to do outside of that. But I want to, I knew that this was like my personal expression, and so it was really rewarding. And the fact that it took off, like I said, was totally by accident. Like, I never thought in a million years I'd be here. 30-something years later.
30 years later, man, over 30 years
it's
later.
It's absolutely
crazy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's there's no need for me to still be here 30 years doing the stuff that we're doing. Especially back then, I would not have even imagined it. I know I work my ass off, but I mean, it's ridiculous. The brutality and the hate and the aggression in our music. I thought it was going to be a just like people would like it. Okay, it's a fad and it's done. And yeah, okay, there are fads in the music scene, and the fact is I am stubborn and I keep doing it, but I've done it throughout the years. It's easy to keep doing something when you love doing it. Like, I never thought about really putting it down. The only time I put it down for a little while was between our Primordial Domination album in 2008 and Vanquish and Vengeance. But it was only for a couple years, and only because I didn't feel inspired to write, because I was like, well, I'm not going to do the band if I don't feel inspired to write, because everything
can't force it.
Everything has to be honest, and it's like, it's not like I wanted to end the band, but I'm like, if it is the end, okay, it's the end. What am I going to do? It's like, if the ideas run out, the ideas run out, and it's like, it's a bummer, but we started it with the intention of being honest to ourselves and only doing it because, we believe in it. And, if the, ideas run out, it runs out. I mean, what happened is our drummer Kyle quit the band for a couple years, and we tried doing some reunion type shows, some of the older members and stuff. And it was fun at first, and then all the old problems came back that were there before. It's sad. I wish it didn't, but it did. And then a few years later, Kyle decided to come back. He got drawn back into the band, and all of a sudden, jamming with him, it was like the magic was there. Like, it was just like we were at practice. We were practicing for a show in Columbia. We just had like this one-off. We're like, oh, let's just do this one-off show. I called Kyle up, said, let's, if you don't mind playing drums, you don't have anybody. And next thing you know, we're writing new material at practice,
Oh, wow.
And it just came like out of nowhere. Like, I didn't have any ideas ahead of time. I was just like, oh, let's try this. I got this little riff here. Just
that's what's so
between
weird.
songs.
Like, you don't have to like someone to have music chemistry with them. I'm always wondering, like, what is that?
Well, there's
you don't got to get along, but you're in the room and like something happens. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, that's what happens. That's what's really strange, is because there's people that I don't get along with at all, and we make amazing music together.
It's so weird. And speaking of accidents, John, how you became like, you never like saw yourself to become like a singer.
No way.
So that was
Holy
an accident. Crap. So what was it like? Your previous singer got stabbed at a club,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then that led him. He made the decision to step down. Which I guess, if someone's trying to kill you, maybe you might reassess. Hey, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. What happened?
How's that for you?
I was, as a guitar player, I was very inspired by Mike Terreo from Possessed, and I just wanted to be that songwriter guy in the band. I didn't care about, because I don't care about the fame or the popularity part of it. I mean, that comes with it, but it's not the main reason why I do it. So I was happy just being a guitar player, and plus my voice is not generally, I mean, it's lower now that I'm older and been doing vocals. When I was younger, though, I was squeaking a lot. I was really high vocals. So, I mean, high tones and talking. So I never even thought that, It's pretty funny because actually the first time we did vocals, Seth Putnam from Anal Cunt came to the show.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. And he was joking around, be like, "Are you going to be sound like Hyrax today, or something with Incantation, And he knows I love he knows I love Hyrax. So I was like, I wish I could be that good, but no. If any, he's seen it and he was just like, "Fuck!" Like he was expecting to like kind of totally make fun of me, and tease me because we have that kind of relationship. We just joke around a lot, and he was like, "Wow, that sounded really good,"
Yeah, so what, you were going down in the basement and just fucking practicing, huh?
Yeah, well, this was it. It was a situation, Unfortunately, Mike Sayers got stabbed at the show, breaking up a fight.
Are you serious? He was breaking up a fight?
Yeah, we just finished playing the show. It was at the, it was a Pyramid Club, but it was not the Pyramid Club in Manhattan. It was a Pyramid Club in Queens. We just played the show. We were on tour. It was Immolation, Incantation, and Goat Horror. And we were finished our set. I can't remember. I think we just finished our set, and I just went to pack up my stuff. And I guess like one of Mike Sayers' friends was at the show, and some guy was like pulling a knife out on him because he said like, "You were looking at my girlfriend," kind of thing. Oh my
goodness!
And then Mike's seen that happen, and he goes and like pushes him apart and tries to get him tried to get his friend away or whatever, and tries to stop dude with the knife. So the knife, he slashes Mike's friend in the face.
Oh, and then, face, dude?
Yes, and then he stabbed Mike accidentally, pulling back on his fucking bicep here, and it was just fucked. And then I only heard about it. I didn't see it actually happen. I was in the backstage area, and then I heard about it, and we came out, and Kyle was changing out of his stage pants. He had just his fucking underwear on. He runs out from the backstage and chases the dude with the knife all the way down the block in fucking Queens, and he finally fucking tackles him on the ground, and the cops come, and they go to arrest Kyle, like, because who's this fucking guy? It's the middle of winter time. He's in his underwear, running down the street, tackling the guy. But it ended up finding out that, the dude ended up getting, arrested for it and stuff. But as far as I remember, the last time I talked to Mikey about it, he ditched. He was like, I think he was from El Salvador or something, and he took a flight to El Salvador and never came back or something. After it happened. So I don't. As far as I'm aware of, I could be wrong because this happened 25 years ago now, but from what I remember, I know he went to El Salvador. I don't know if he went to El Salvador after he got some jail time, and he might have went to jail for it, came out, did something again, and went to El Salvador. I can't remember exactly, but you could look it up. It's like on the on Google. You could Google it or whatever. But that shirt, it was like the second show of that tour.
The second show.
So we had like the same day, we had all our shirts stolen that weren't in the club from the back of our trailer too. A whole tour's worth of shirts stolen, and so it was a really bad day. And it was the second day of the tour, and we besides getting stabbed, we were stuck with like thousands of dollars in bills to our shirt company, and no tour to help pay it back, and we were broke as fuck. So
that sucks, dude.
Yeah, but
thank you for sharing that story.
Well, we have, when you tour this much, there's always something going on, something crazy,
Mm-hmm. You're put into position like, well, shit, I got to learn how to sing, dude.
That's what we're getting at.
I got to learn how to sing, and let me practice in the basement real quick, dude.
Well, we had after that whole thing happened, we did the Blasphemy album. And then we had Mike Sayers come into the studio and do vocals on it because there was no way I was going to be ready to do vocals. Mm-hmm. But then I talked with Kyle, because it was basically just myself and Kyle at that time in the band. We just got Joey Lombard in the band, who also rest in peace, which sucks. But we had the conversation like, okay, what are we going to do? It's like, And Kyle was like, you got to do vocals. Or no, he said, one of us has to do vocals and I'm not. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't think I can. He's like, no, I can't do it. So either you do it or we're fucked. And I was just like, okay, I'll try, but, and it's, I practiced in my basement for about a year it's been. And then we did a couple of shows. We booked 3 shows in Mexico because we wanted to do kind of low profile shows because I didn't know if I was going to be good. And we did the shows and we videotaped them and I listened back and I was like, it's not perfect, but it's there. It kind of reminded me of old Max Cavalera from like the Morbid Visions days. So I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Maybe I was thinking maybe I'm not going to be as low as say the previous vocalist, but I could still, I mean, who's going to complain about sounding like Max Cavalera? He's one of the best death metal vocalists ever. So,
wow, I never heard someone say that. That's cool.
Oh, Max Cavalera, holy fuck. Yes, there's no doubt about it.
He is a goat for sure.
Yeah, he was a huge influence on me musically. And I realized once I started doing vocals, it was coming out as an influence on me vocal-wise.
Wow.
And then just from that point on, it took, honestly, until I was 100% happy, it took probably 5-6 years of doing it to really, really be happy. Because even in the studio, when we did the albums afterwards, we did Decimate Christendom and Primordial Domination. I needed the engineer, Bill Korecky, who also passed away, which sucks. And then Kyle would coach me in the studio because I was not able to judge my vocals because everything I did vocally on tape I hated. So I was just like, you guys have to tell me what's good because I can't judge myself.
Hearing your own voice sucks.
Yes, it took me a long time. But then once we did the Vanquished Vengeance album, I realized like, I listened back and was like, I like that. It sounds good. And then I was, eventually I was able to understand it and do something that I felt I was proud of. Not that I wasn't proud of that stuff, but I wasn't able to judge. Like, if it wasn't for Bill Korecky and Kyle, I don't know how those vocals would have came out because I could have had good takes and not like, I didn't like them because they were me. Because I didn't feel like I was the vocalist of Incantation. I felt like I was doing it as a necessity. But by the time Vanquishing Vengeance came out, I had that confidence where I'm just like, no, I'm the vocalist of Incantation. I can make the sounds I need to make.
Yeah, dude.
And I almost felt like Kronos from Venom coming out being like, hell fucking yeah, motherfuckers, I'm ready for the task, But it was nice to get to that point after a long time. And now it's good because every time I go on stage, I'm just, there's Bill. That's him bitching at us in the studio and how we suck as a band. And if we want to do a good album, we need to, step up our game.
You guys suck.
Yes. Working with Bill Korecky was such good boot camp because he would just tell us, he'd be like, dude, just play the song like you heard it once on the radio 5 years ago, at least play it that good. Like, because, it's like he was kind of trying to push for us to get a little tighter with our playing and stuff like that. And he would really push for us to get the best out of us. And he would just beat you into the ground until you fucking gave him that take that needed to happen, Or I mean, it was just funny. He actually engineered the Mortal Throne Nazarene album that we did, but he hated. We recorded it in one studio and they brought it to him to mix on a minimal budget because there was some not technical, but business bullshit that went on.
Sure.
It was funny because when he got the tapes in the studio, he was just like, "What the fuck is this?" He's like, "Did these people even know how to fucking record music?" And he would turn up faders. And he was like, "No." And he had the tapes and he took them and he brought them outside and said, when we came the next day to the studio, he was just like, "Take these. I can't work with the deaf," And our friend Brian Sekula said, "Dude, you got to do this. Do it for me. Just help these guys out. Like, get them the best sounding album you can out of this." And he's like, "Okay, but you can't put my name on it." So if you look at the credits for Mortal Throne Nazarene, instead of saying Bill Korecky, it says Mr. Bill. because he wouldn't want to have his name on there because he said he was embarrassed of the album. I don't know if it says Mr. Bill on the Discogs or whatever, but yeah, Mr. Bill, yes, engineered by Mr. Bill.
Engineered by Mr. Bill. Confirmed on the artwork.
Yeah. So
mixed at Metal Mark Studios, Cleveland, Ohio, 94.
Yeah, it wasn't the name of the studio. The name of the studio was Mars Recording Compound.
Oh, okay.
But we had to come up with fictitious names. So
did you? Oh,
he didn't want his name on that album. He was
he
like,
didn't want nothing.
No,
Studio
no.
nothing. Wow.
He's like, I'm doing this as a favor. Your favor to me is don't tell anyone I did it. He's dead now, unfortunately, so I could say it. But at the time, he thought if he did that album, it might hurt him on getting other projects.
Wow.
Because he was doing a lot of stuff for the Cleveland bands like the Victory Records, like Integrity, Earth Crisis, Hatrix, Ringworm, stuff like that. And he was also getting what was it? He was working with some bigger names like Trouble and stuff like that in the studio because he had a nice Eve board and stuff like that. But he didn't want us to ruin his reputation, you know.
Interesting, dude.
But we were just happy to get it done. I mean, and I understand. I mean, hey, I want don't want anybody to ruin their career because they're recording our album.
Yeah, we don't want that. It's like
but now it's funny because later on, what was it? Father Be Fouled and a couple other bands that kind of sound like that era of Incantation. They booked time with Bill Korecky so they can get that sound again. The sound like the sound that Bill Korecky hated, but like 15 years later, and he must have been so pissed because he's like, you want me to put on an album that sounds like shit? You give me these tracks, now I got to make them sound like crap, but to make you happy.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Hey, John, we are, so we're actually approaching an hour and a half.
Okay.
So is there anything, any closing thoughts about your band that you might want out there?
Yeah, well, the most important thing, there's a bunch of important things, but I'm just super fortunate to have such an amazing musical journey and to work with so many great people. And the older I get, the more and more I appreciate, especially with the passing of numerous members and other people that are involved in the scene. And I just feel very grateful to have, learned so many things, so many people, created great music, have great friendships. It doesn't matter if, we get along with them now or don't I don't give a crap about that. Those experiences that I share with all these people were just phenomenal. And what is super amazing is I work with now in the band, I have the most amazing people by my side right now, and I could not be more thankful for it. Our bass player, Chuck Sherwood, Kyle Severin, Charlie, and Luke, and Sam, like on this tour, and just a bunch of other people that we have. Brian Rush helping us out on bass sometimes on tour. It's like I'm surrounded by such amazing, not just amazing musicians, but amazing people. Yeah, and that's like one of my goals was to have amazing people that, by my side performing every night, something I'd be proud of. Like when we play every night, I get out on stage and play with these people by my side. I'm so grateful, and I never take it for granted. I do sometimes think that I don't let these people know how much I appreciate them. I sometimes think I don't, and I really, really do. And I, on this tour especially, man, it's been sounding so good. And Charlie with his fucking drums, it just sounds, every night it feels like thunder shooting through my brain, and it just makes the guitars that Luke and I are playing just grab people's souls. Like you almost feel like you're just connecting with people on this level that's just like, and it's fucking great. And I'm just so grateful to be in the position that I am now, with working with amazing people. I have no interest in stopping or anything, and I just hope that everybody else in the band feels the same way. And even like I said, the older people, even the people I might have been assholes to or whatnot, I think I hope that we could all just have a beer together and just appreciate the awesome things that we did. And I know 100%, I want to make it super clear that I am far from perfect. I fucked up a lot on a lot of stuff, always trying to do the right thing, but not always doing it. And, people don't like me for it and hate me for it. It's okay. I understand. But just know that I don't put myself above any other people. And I know I would absolutely not be here without a ridiculous amount of people. And there's one person that I think is really important to bring up too. Fortunately, I was able to jam for a little while with Richard Christie in the band when we did the Infernal Storm album. And I learned so much from jamming with him. I mean, he was playing with Death on Sounds of Perseverance. He was playing with Demons and Wizards and Blind Guardian for a while, and I think Iced Earth. And he's been a friend before that, but I learned so much from jamming with him, and because his talent was so far beyond anything I was used to playing with, I guess. Not saying that other people were bad. They were great. But this guy, he had talent, but he had this humbleness that I learned a lot from being around, where he never showed any rock star ego stuff. He was staying at my house to practice, and he would ask for permission to go to freaking bathroom in our house, like, it's like, no, you don't have to go, yeah, you can have a glass of water. You don't have to ask for it,
Yeah.
But it was just that kind courteous, and I learned a lot. And there were also a few other things that happened in my life, like getting the opportunity to meet Ronnie James Dio around the time of Master of the Moon, and his kindness to me, and to meet musicians that either I played with or that I frankly idolized, to be nice to me and to treat me with respect when they don't have to or whatnot, really was part of the whole reason why I was able to. It was part of my learning process, we'll say, on trying to be the best person that I could be or whatever. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows, all our supporters, everybody knows that, trust me, I'm grateful that you guys give a shit about us, because I know you guys don't have to. And, seeing those faces out in the crowd every night really, really means a lot to me. It might sound cheesy, but it warms my heart, to look out and to see that our music means something to people. I try my best to always look at every person I can. I'm headbanging a lot, but I like to still take some time and look at these people in the eye and let them know, like, thank you. And like, look to them and say thank you, because it's important to me, because I know they don't have to be there.
They don't have to, but they want to be there.
Yes. So thank you.
Over 35 years. Well, John, where can people find you guys?
I guess the normal BS stuff. Yeah, Instagram, the Incantation official Instagram.
Okay.
We have we have Incantation.com, Incantation official Facebook, and Bandcamp. I don't know. Relapse has an Incantation Bandcamp thing for us. I don't know too much about Bandcamp. And you know what? Let's do me a favor, and if you're out there and you listen to Spotify, like, listen to our stuff on Spotify, because our Spotify numbers suck, and I really want to try to get them up a little better, because we do really well on tour. People really like us, but I don't think our fans listen to us on Spotify.
Okay.
And unfortunately, like, these industry people look at Spotify numbers, and that's where they get a lot of their judging us for getting on a tour, just whatever bullshit, like,
Sure.
It's like how successful you are, even though we're like a band where all our fans, they buy our CDs, they buy our albums, like, they're fucking death metal maniacs. They don't really want to listen to Spotify. Spotify is like a younger kids thing, or whatever. I mean, I listen to Spotify, but still, I don't listen to us on Spotify unless I'm practicing some old songs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we could link to Spotify in the YouTube and audio description, so people just boom, there, click it, and boom.
yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. Hope I didn't overbabble.
No. It's Johnny. You spoke. You spoke your mind and you spoke your heart. So that's what we want here. And John, you are a fucking legend, dude. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you at the show tonight.
Can I say one thing?
Let's do it.
I watched some of your interview with Chris Barnes,
Mm-hmm.
and early on, I had an unwanted beef with Chris Barnes,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was really good. It was really nice to see him. He sounded very honest and very sympathetic, and it showed me a side of Chris Barnes that I didn't know, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of his stuff, I really hope that one day I do get to reconnect with him and just talk to him and just apologize for maybe some of the bad mouthing that I did because I was really annoyed at him about a couple things, and it was juvenile, and I know he's playing with Jack, which is a good friend of mine, not good friend, but a friend, we'll say, but the interview really made me look at him in a different light than
Cool.
I did before. So you did a great job with that, and
Thanks, John.
shout out to him.
Appreciate that. Yeah, he's 2.5 years sober, so he's I think he's him now. It's
Yeah.
cool. More open.
That's good to see. It's good to see that. I didn't, my first realization that he was like that was on, watching your videos and stuff. So I thought that was cool.
Wow. Cool. John, thank you. Well, John, you are a legend, and I will see you tonight, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, everyone. That's it. Later.